Welcome back, everyone. I am the Depressed Dior, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 10. Alright, I don't think I have really any major updates. I moved around a Glory of the World helmet off of Sherry and moved it to somebody else, but I honestly don't remember who. But it was somebody else. In any case, now she's using a was it the Helm of Tyr or whatever it's called? But not sure it's actually that useful for her. But I didn't realize she can actually wear heavy helmets, so I had some spares. So anyway, as for our opponent, Berserker, the name looks familiar, but I checked the logs and I haven't fought him recently. 3 tanks, 4 healers, a ton of single target, and a handful of assassins. That's about it. Yeah, it's a mixture of assassins and single target, really. Not sure why they went triple tank, but that's what they went with. Got rid of Wet Ham because I don't really have an answer for Wet Ham if he charges in. And yeah, that's pretty much it. They banned my Iron Chancellor, who's still 5 stars. They pick Epsilon. Wet Ham got rid of both Sherry and Rosen CL. Obviously, I didn't want to deal with any of the Crystal Barrier passive healing nonsense, and obviously Sherry is needy our faction, and I don't want to give her any additional benefits for picking a faction buffer. I got my Rosen CL. They are already banning my long legs and long range. They grabbed their Lucretia. So at this point, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to let you have your faction buff, and, well, I'm not going to let you have either faction buff, so I banned 2 of the 3 tanks. And grabbed Luna. So Luna was an addition change to the box recently. Haven't had an opportunity to really use her. My opponent went ahead and got rid of my tank, and got rid of my spears, essentially, and grabbed Elwyn as a response. So at this point I was like, well, I'm not going to let you have tanks then, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of any additional mobility increases that you can possibly give besides... well, actually, sorry, the goal here was to get rid of the tank and get rid of a healer, so if my opponent's going to take a healer, they have to pick one this phase. I'll go ahead and grab Sherry. So I actually have coverage for both Empire and Princess faction, so I'm pretty good on the faction side. And Luna could provide additional mobility, so I wasn't too worried about losing things like Akaya and stuff, because they're kind of redundant at this point. They went with Florentia. Florentia does not have a faction buff, so she won't. The only way she'll get additional strategies is through her 3C, or if she has the passive, she can get them from unit deaths. Went ahead and got rid of the teleport and got rid of what's his name? Old Sigma. Whatever his name is. But I don't like dealing with this stupid mystery mechanic. And I was like, you know what? I have Luna. I mean, I'm going to have a faction buff. I should be able to tank Kyura. Kyura's attacks easily enough. Though, to be honest, Kyura is going to be a little bit of a pain because obviously she can passively heal if I hit her with AoEs. Also, with the additional puppet from Lucretia, it's actually going to be a bit harder to get rid of for extra mobility. But I went ahead and grabbed Lana because I wasn't paying attention. And that leaves me with Gustav and Tensei Jessica. Went ahead and went with Tensei Jessica so I can have a teleport. Also, I don't think I had a faction buff for Gustav. I think she might get Empire, but I'd rather not take an Empire faction buff just for one person. So yeah, Epsilon standard kit with faction buff, Shadow Stealth, Demonic Blade, Zombies, usual. Kyura went with Faceless. Other than that, she's full attack. Florentia went 3C with AoE heal. Elwyn, standard kit Elwyn with unicorns. And then Lucretia is all single target, and that's a puppet. Alright, Light of Genesis went with Spirit Prophets, standard kit with Strengthen and Teleport. Sherry, I went with Angels to try to prepare for all the magic damage. Went with melee single target. Rosen Seal, I did not bring a faction buff. Instead, I actually brought Ice Dragon Breath for just an additional AoE if necessary. And then I have Luna with Wind God Realm, Move Again, and her faction buff. And then Lana, I went with Redeemers, so she gets extra AoE range and span. Went with her passive ability that reduces cooldowns randomly. And then Black Hole and Heaven Sanction. So pretty standard stuff. Oh, and then the troops for Luna is Elven Cavalry Archers. Alright, so with that, right off the bat, my opponent went straight forward with Epsilon, the usual trick. Move forward, get out of the range of everyone else, faction buff, and then immediately stealth, and then proc Breeze, because that always happens. So yeah, with his talent and his coverage is almost the entire map at this point. Even without the breeze, his range would go from here to, oh yeah, actually the breeze was a significant difference, which is really annoying. But there's not much I can do about it. At this point, I was like, all right, well, more than likely they're gonna kill my Sherry then. So I just kind of resigned my fate for that. So like I tried to figure out ways to maybe get in there, but right now the only way I can hit him is to break his stealth first, using something like an AoE. I can reach him with an AoE. I can reach him with Heaven Sanction to here and then go all the way to there. But overall, it wasn't going to happen. So I went ahead and just moved in, set up Wind God Realm, provided an additional target possibly, and then give myself give a faction buff. Get that up and running. Strategic regroup right off the bat. And then act again. So yeah, I already knew it was coming, so there's not much we can do about it. So went ahead and did Miracle. Don't expect it to work, but yeah, Daybreak trigger, so yep. Not much you can do about that. So he gets his proc on his weapon, and then he gets his stupid little barrier thing. Yep. So next hit's going to be at 80% reduced. So I went ahead and did Black Hole, which actually did pretty good damage. I'm wondering if the sword's benefit for ignoring class disadvantage only applies for. I'm wondering if that only applies for what do you call it? Direct attacks. In fact, with that hindsight, I could have probably killed him next round using Heaven Sanction, probably. But at this point, I wanted him dead. So went ahead and moved in, strengthened. I mean, regardless, Elwyn's about to get in range, so I'm gonna need to do something regardless. So I did a normal attack. It was more than enough, because I figured if she was allowed to live, I was gonna need to use her 3C on something else. Yeah, Breeze proc. So at this point, I was like, all right, well, I killed Epsilon, so I'm gonna kill that puppet. And then run on back. I did lose the Wind God Realm aura, but that's fine. Also, Elwyn's getting stronger with every death. But there's only 4 characters now, so that means Kyura's mobility's been dropped, and she lost some intelligence. Speaking of Kyura, she has no way of getting buffed. Same thing for Lucretia. Florentia and Lucretia did not bring mass attack. So the only people that were able to get an attack buff, besides random Tenyo buffs, is Elwyn with his faction buff and Epsilon with his own faction buff. Alright. So, Reign of Glory. Goes in. Yeah, there's no way I'm going to survive this. Yeah. more than double. Okay. So at this point I was like, alright, well, Ice Dragon Breath. He's immune to debuffs right now, but... So while it didn't do too much crazy damage, I do 15% of remaining HP as fixed damage, so it actually did a decent amount. Lucretia doesn't have a poppet, so her range was reduced as well. So, crit. I have melee troops, so they can't, they can only do so much. Sudden strike. So I was like, oh, okay, what are you gonna do? You're gonna attack, you know, Luna with magic. She also did 3C, which, okay. So I went ahead and used Luna to trigger the proc the first death. And then I was curious to see what he was going to do. And actually went for Luna. And honestly, Luna is probably the bigger threat because she can just kite people at this point. So he moved 5 spaces, so he got a full heal. So I was like, alright, well, let's deal with Lucretia and kill everything. So in hindsight, I think I shouldn't have included Kyura in that. I should have just hit both Elwyn and Lucretia, because then he wouldn't get the passive heal from Kyura. He'll still get the heal from his the death that happened, but made it a little less efficient. Also, I'm out of range for attacking him in melee, which is a little foolish of me. So, but went ahead and moved in. Yeah, the troops are trying to do literally no damage, so, but I could still have some int to play around with. Alright. So I went ahead and attacked again, because he had only 5,000 HP left. And kill him with Rose and Seal here. And then I'm going to get hit with all of that. So Star Slash. Couldn't get kill. Backs off, heals. So I was like, alright, back off, get the passive heal from Rose and Seal. So my faction buff is gone, unfortunately. And she had a clock proc with her 3C, so she got even more stratagems, essentially. But at this point, she's pretty much starved. She did the act again, probably just to cycle cooldowns. Go ahead and move down. Healed what I could. I'm doing some 10 Neo procs. Unfortunately, it was defense, which only helps against the troops. So expose weakness. So take a death, but I have no debuff, so Redeemers will proc. Like so. And then I'll heal. It's going to go ahead and Star Shrine. So went ahead and moved in. I'm not too concerned about the passive heal from Kyura. I'm just wanting to do debuffs and damage at this point. Alright, haven't really been keeping track of the Elemental Echo, but I managed to get lucky with it. So got Black Hole again, already set and ready. The debuffs don't really matter too much. Florentia has Forest Priest and the staff that removes debuffs. But the key thing to note is her only heal besides her one-cost strategy is Strategic Regroup, and that goes on cooldown for 2 rounds. So once she uses it, I can kind of just freely do a bunch of more debuffs without too much concern. And despite that, I still managed to keep some debuffs up. So Miracle up and running again, so I can at least do a little extra damage. I also managed to proc a heal 10U buff. So she moved away. So at this point I was like, alright, well. Boom. So yeah. She's silenced, it doesn't really matter, her stuff's on cooldown. Actually, it does matter. She won't be able to heal next round, or 2 rounds from now. And her Kyra's stuff is also on cooldown, so if she wants to attack, she has to attack into range. And I went ahead and moved in Forest to get additional defense. The Redeemers do have reduced health, I believe. Yeah, the max HP dropped by 20%. But apparently they still have a ton of HP. That's 11,000. That's amazing. So yeah. Expose weakness. Critted. And I hit back. So at this point, I was like, well, I'll take my kill. Most of her hits hit my troops, so it didn't do too much. Continues to try to wear me down. At this point, I'm super ahead on damage, by the way. There you go. And at this point, my black hole was off cooldown, so there you go. So yeah, interesting little fight. Actually, I had a lot of fun with that. As you can see, Lana put some work in with all of her AoEs. So some minor mistakes as far as letting them have Kyra, possibly. To be honest, I don't know if the alternative would have been Werner, whatever his name is. Yeah, Werner is his name. I don't know if I was going to be able to survive Werner and his weird stance nonsense. I mean, I was going to be doing mostly AoEs anyway, but his mobility and range can get really extreme. And also, I'm pretty sure he's Meteor faction, so I didn't want him to get buffed by Epsilon. So it was kind of just the best option out of the bunch. But I won, and I was pretty happy about that. Because it means I'm staying in Silver 1 for a little bit longer. We're back up to 50% win rate, so we're getting there. So we'll stick with the AoE box for a bit longer. Obviously, some people think single target would probably be better, and I completely agree. Just been wanting to stick with this and get familiar with some other characters that I don't use as often. It's just the fact that even though I have a lot of AoE characters due to lots of female mages and things like that, none of them are Bozel and none of them are Kruger, and they tend to be both bulky and they can kind of get the job done a lot better than some other characters. As far as assassins are concerned, though, it's really, I definitely look forward to switching back to like a full assassin box. I know some people have mentioned that some people still use tanks, and they do. I've watched the matches, but it's usually a situation where it's like originally when people like had your 2 tanks and 4 healers. Usually it'll be something like, all right, I'll first pick my tank, then pick some stuff. If my healers start being threatened, I'll pick a healer and then have that standard box. But that's not really what you see in matches nowadays. They'll still bring a tank in their box, but they won't first pick it type situation. They'll usually pick it if they feel they need it and it hasn't been banned yet. And if the opponent happens to ban it, it's like, okay, well, that's one less ban I have to worry about. I guess major thing to look forward to, I suppose, this Thursday is the collab event for Valkyria Chronicles is going to be coming out. Overall, the characters are kind of meh. One of them's decent, and I've seen some interesting mechanics with. Silvaria is unfortunately supposedly very disappointing, though I do still want to get her. And the SR character is really kind of a weird jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none thing that people haven't really found a use for yet. But I'm looking forward to getting all 3 of them and going from there. Only other updates to talk about is current events. We're now getting double the number of Gate of Fates. So I'm using that as an opportunity to go ahead and finish up some characters. I'm going to be, by the time you guys see this video, Amelia's going to be 6 stars. I'm also on the way of finally getting Sumire to 6 stars. So kind of gradually whittling down the pool of characters that still need to get to 6 stars, which is going to be good since I'm going to be getting 3 new characters soon. I have been saving up SR tokens to get. I can't remember her name, unfortunately. The new SR character to get her up to 6 stars as quickly as possible. I'm hoping the event will give me a bunch of those. Keep calling them tokens. I think that's what they're called. Shards. Yeah, if we go down here, yeah, I have 116 SR shards saved up for the new SR character. So we'll see how that plays out. Anyway, enough rambling for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time. Depressed Dior, Langrisser Mobile, Apex Season 10. See ya.